According to our Adrian Wojnarowski, Celtics coach Ime Udoka is likely facing a suspension for the entire 2022-23 season in his role for a consensual relationship with a female staff member. A formal announcement is expected as soon as today. Also, according to Woj, assistant coach Joe Mazzulla is likely to become Boston's interim coach for the season.
So, unless you've been living on a rock, you've probably already heard that the Boston Celtics head coach, Ime Udoka, has been suspended indefinitely for having relations with one of his coworkers. And in case you didn't know, he's also engaged to Hollywood star Nia Long. That girl is fine. Proof that it don't matter how fine the woman is. If a man want to cheat, he gon' cheat. And I gotta be straight up with you guys. Men need to learn discipline. And I know men cheat all the time. But if you promise a woman an exclusive relationship, you need to be a man of your word and do that. If you want to have relations with multiple women, then you need to be open and honest with the women involved. If you don't want nothing serious, then just casually date. But cheating should never be an option. You should either find a woman who's okay with having an open relationship or just end the relationship that you're currently in. And this situation is particularly idiotic because not only did he ruin his relationship, but he also messed up his money. Out of all the women he could have cheated with, he decides to pick the woman that could cost him his job. His only saving grace is that he's only engaged to Nia Long, because otherwise he would also be losing half his shit in a divorce. It is not worth it. If you're not ready to be faithful, then don't get into an exclusive relationship. And if you want an exclusive relationship, don't put yourself in situations where you may be tempted to cheat. It's okay to have urges to sleep with other women. The problem is when you act on those urges to sleep with other women. If the romance is dying in your relationship, then you need to find a way to reignite that fire. It's not worth jeopardizing your relationship, and most importantly, it's not worth jeopardizing your integrity.
There's no NDA involved. You just sat up there and basically told the world, he's ours, but we ain't going to use him.
Yeah. And they didn't give parameters of what it would take to reinstate
They gave
him.
no parameters of what it would take for reinstatement. They didn't specify what punishment they gave him beyond suspending him for the year. Is he getting his salary for this upcoming season? Has it been cut in half? I told he's only getting about 50% of it. Has that been cut in half?
Characterized as a significant financial penalty.
So you've got that going on. And I'm going to say this again. It said in the numerous news reports, it was a consensual relationship that violated organizational policy. So only he is in violation of the company policy. The woman who elected to have a consensual relationship with him is not in violation.
That's a good point.
He gets to get mentioned and put on Front Street. We don't know who she is. What about the other women within the Celtics organization who have been victimized because wrong assumptions have been made by their involvement? If you knew exactly who it was, that would alleviate the concerns of all the other women who have had their names paraded out into the streets. What about them? You ain't thinking about that. So here we are. We're throwing him out to pasture. And again, Ime Udoka cannot be defended. His actions are his actions. Nobody fights for black coaches more than me. But I am telling you, a firing would have been warranted. Or you keep him. But to keep him, yet suspend him, by the way, not just suspend him, but for the suspension to be indefinite.
It's almost worse like a lame duck status.
That's what you did. You ruined his career for the next few years. He did it. He did his action. But
NBA reporter and host of NBA Today, our friend Malika Andrews. Malika, do you have us?
I've got you, Molly. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. And obviously, you had the statement from Udoka that was given to you. What's your reaction now after hearing the press conference?
Well, Molly, thank you. If I could first start with this. Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop. What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all of the information here. And it was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or to give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So that I just want to get that out of the way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what stood out to me, I think what stood out to me is that Brad Stevens, he was upset. That's what stood out to me about what he termed rampant Twitter BS is the word that he used, that women were unfairly dragged into this within the Celtics organization. You could see that Brad Stevens was visibly upset about this. And I also found that to be gross and unnecessary, that folks were bringing in the names and the images of women that is just not a fact. That was purely speculation. And so to me, that is what stood out. But the Celtics as an organization could have done more, and short of doing more ahead of this yesterday, they could have owned that responsibility in this press conference. I understand that there were legal parameters that they had to operate within for everybody involved, and I appreciate the fact that they brought in outside counsel and did a thorough organization. And I think that that is something that was clearly necessary in this situation. But the fact that it was able to go on all day, the fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves, the fact of the matter is, I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired, or he deserves to be there and handle it internally and privately. If you're not going to handle it privately, if you're going to publicize it in that fashion, then obviously it provokes everybody wanting to know, okay, well, who are the parties involved? When you have Amina Smith in Boston and other women pointing out the fact that there were women who were wrongly implicated in all of this, it's a disservice to them. I didn't come out with the report about a consensual relationship. I didn't come out with the report ahead of time leaking that they were going to suspend him for the year. They did that. And my point is, considering how pervasive this kind of stuff has existed in professional sports for many years, my whole point is that, excuse me, make sure that you handle it in the same fashion it has always been handled. You could have fired him, and then we could have speculated till the cows come home, but he's gone. But to keep him there, keep him employed, but in the same breath, suspend him for a year, then also that year is indefinite. That is the issue that I have. Nobody's trying to protect Ime Udoka, and certainly nobody is trying to protect, is to excoriate the women involved or anything like that. I'm talking about how things of this matter are usually handled from an HR perspective, from an organizational perspective. That is not consistent with what we have seen throughout the years. That is the only point that I was trying to make. I'm not trying to attack anybody. And if anybody deserves to be attacked, it's Ime Udoka for putting himself in this position. I've made that very clear. I'm just talking about you got owners and everybody else. They know the kind of stuff that's going on. You didn't say anything about anybody else. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about them. They didn't say anything about everybody else all the other times this stuff has happened. But now when it comes to him, it's all over the place. That is my issue. That is my only issue.
I don't know how Malika Andrews took what Stephen A. Smith said and interpreted that as blaming women. She literally spazzed on this man for no reason whatsoever, and I'm glad he checked her on it. He simply stated that the report said it was a consensual relationship, which means there were two parties involved. So if two parties are involved, why is only one person being punished? Sounds like a legitimate question to me, but somehow he's blaming women. when in actuality, he's just trying to make sure that all parties involved are held accountable, which is what should happen. He did kind of backtrack a little bit in his response, but for her to insinuate that he was trying to blame the women is just ridiculous. Cheating on your fiance is wrong. We can all agree to that. But sleeping with a man knowing he has a fiance is also wrong. And if it's against company rules to have a relationship with your coworker, then both parties involved should be punished. The rules don't just apply to the man. Men need to be held accountable for their actions. Absolutely. But women need to be held accountable as well. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, let me know what you thought of the video. What points did you agree with? What points did you disagree with? Leave your comments below and let me know what you thought. And if you got anything out of this video, hit that like button. This is Agree to Disagree. I'm out.